Now to the menace of artificial intelligence generated deepfakes. The latest victim of a deepfake video posted online is popular Indian star Rashmika Mandanna. The deepfake of the actor went viral on social media, sparking off strong reactions and a demand for legal action, including from Amitabh Bachchan. A look at the video that was originally posted by a British Indian YouTube influencer Zara Patel on the 9th of October and the Rashmika Mandanna deepfake that was made out of it just reveals the power of deepfakes. We've seen this time and time again. On the left side of your screens is the original video posted by Zara Patel. On the right is the deepfake made of it. Till Rashmika called it out, there was no way one would have known there was a deepfake. That's the power of it, and that's how advanced technology has become. Rashmika had put out a post on X sharing how hurt she was, and she pointed out that as a celebrity, she has the power to fight it. But most importantly, she added, and I quote, "If this had happened to me when I was in school or college, I genuinely couldn't imagine how I could tackle it." Imagine yourself in that position, and yes, it's scary. That's a big concern because it could happen to any school or college kid or any one of us. In fact, just a few days ago, there was a widespread outrage in the United States after artificial intelligence generated deepfake nude images of schoolgirls circulated at the Westfield High School in New Jersey. The girls as young as 14 years old were shocked at the videos. What's more shocking is that the ones who created those deepfakes could be as young as well, doing it on a simple device tutored from the internet. The victims have pointed out the need for urgent action, regulation of artificial intelligence, and the lack of legal recourse in such cases. Given the free availability of these tools online and tutorials on how to use them, this is a clear and present danger everywhere in the world. In the midst for demands for legal action in India after the Rashmika Mandanna deepfake, Union Minister of State for IT, Rajiv Chandrasekhar, has posted on X that under the IT rules notified in April 2023, it is a legal obligation for platforms to ensure no misinformation is posted by any user and ensure that when reported by any user or government, misinformation is removed in 36 hours. The conversation around deepfakes also hits politicians, remember, especially in election season, like instances in poll-bound Madhya Pradesh now. Honestly, any one of us could be the victim of a deepfake. So how do we defend ourselves from deepfakes? Joining me now is Nurain Fazal, educator and co-founder of the Inventure Academy from Bengaluru, Pankaj Mishra, journalist and author who follows tech trends and social issues very closely. Also with us this evening, Viraj Gupta, advocate and cyber law expert. My first question to you, Nurain, as an educator, it must be a nightmare. It must be a scary prospect, not just of who's going to be the victim in a deepfake case, but also that the ones creating it could be young kids with just access to gadgets and artificial intelligence tools. Nurain, you'll have to unmute yourself. You're on mute.
Yeah, thank you so much for hosting this panel. Very quickly, yeah, it's kind of impossible almost, when I think back to my time in school and the kind of dangers that we faced and the dangers that children face today. I mean, just imagine anyone with a smart device and access to the internet can create audio and video that show people saying and doing things that they didn't actually do. So that's a very real danger in a world that we grew up believing that what you see is what you believe. But that's kind of turned on its head today. And my first exposure to it was when I saw Mark Zuckerberg's video, then I saw President Obama's video where he said not so very complimentary things about Trump. But it really hit home when I saw the story on Westfield High and the absolute danger to children. And the challenge we have is, as educators, as parents, we all are incredibly vulnerable. In a society where there's statutory warnings on consumption of everything from food to medicines to videos to video games, there's absolutely zero warning on the use of technology and social media. You ask a child about the dangers of drugs, about the dangers of arms, they're going to tell you. But nobody really knows about the danger of social media, and the use of technology. So the very first step is to create that education and to create that awareness. And I think parents around India today should be sitting the children down and having a conversation about the danger of, misinformation, of cyberbullying, about privacy and how to detect deep fakes and what to do about it. And schools should be having this conversation with children as well. Have circle time to get people. Yes, seeing is believing, but thinking but feeling is real, right? So children need to be more compassionate, need to be more sensitive, and that really needs to come from society. Technology companies, I think, in trying to create an ecosystem of innovation, are really getting away scot-free. So I was very happy to see what Rajiv Chandrasekhar said. And also, yes, the IT Act, there are concerns about privacy, but I do believe technology companies need to be held accountable. Yes, there are companies like Microsoft, Google, Snapchat, all of them are talking about doing something. They're working with universities such as University of Berkeley and University of Southern California. There are also AI companies which do exist. And there's a lot of research taking place in order to detect deep fakes. But there's not enough happening. And we absolutely need to legislate in this area. It's not enough to tell parents, go have a conversation with your kids or leave it to address this. This is parents and educators across India need to be having conversations with students. Say that again, please.
Nurain, as you make that point, and I'm taking this across to... Sorry, I think we lost you for a bit there on the internet, but we're fine now. I'm just taking this across to Pankaj. Pankaj is the genie now out of the bottle. Now, while we talk about legislation, often in these cases, as Rashmika points out, when it's a big celebrity, when it's a big politician, one gets to know about the power of deepfakes, or when it's a sensational case. There could be hundreds of cases which even the person who's been deepfaked may not even be aware that such a deepfake is running around, because it could have been posted in a group where that person's not available, or been viewed by people who haven't brought it back to the victim in a case.
Yes, and I think that is the danger. Look, I remember tracking a case 8-9 years ago at Factor Daily, where we tracked a suicide case of a young teenager, a girl in Kerala, who was fighting for a Facebook post to be removed. And when nothing worked out, she had to take her own life. And we spent time talking to her mother. What is baffling? The baffling is we have now found a new term for, called deepfake, All this has existed for a really long time. The genie is not out of the bottle. This has been running riots for a really long time. As you rightly said, it takes a celebrity, it takes a big disaster for us to make it a national debate, for us to kind of do our usual things we do for glorifying and, for calling attention, war cry, all of that. That's the biggest problem. Because if you travel across the country, if you travel, government primary schools, you meet teachers, students, or even if you go to tier 2 and 3 towns, this has existed for a really long time. It is an intelligent photoshopping, which nobody can beat. So that's the point number one, Veera. The second thing I want to say is, there are examples from other countries and other organizations who are struggling to tackle, but they are making some progress. Finland's education system, the way they tackle digital literacy is a good example. We have already seen what is happening in this particular school's case, the town council, parents. So that community intervention is very important. But finally, I just want to put a point. I think it's time to start talking about victim support, because that is where the least attention is being given. And the longer we take, the worse it will become. Nobody is talking about victim support. After this famous, the case, Rashmika case, since then, Chinmay Shribata has tweeted about it. There's so many others who are talking about it. But the elephant in the room is victim support.
Right, that's a very important point that you make there, Pankaj. Viraj Gupta, one is everyone talks about legal safeguards, etc., etc. Obviously, there are laws in it, but often the damage is done even before it's notified.
I was listening the interview of minister, and he was talking about the accountability of these companies who are called intermediary in the legal languages. And these intermediary companies were held accountable as per the Delhi High Court order 10 years back in K.N. Govindacharya matter. And those are still very relevant. And three aspects were there in that order. One was these companies have to appoint the grievance officer in India so that if there is any complaint, so immediately one can get the redressal. What minister was saying that within 36 hours, they have to take the action. But the problem is that intermediary companies are asking for either the government order or the court order. That was the whole matter of dispute when the tutor said that we are not going to obey the government direction, and then the Karnataka matter went to the Karnataka High Court. So they are getting immunity and exemption as per the section 79 of the IT Act. That is called the safe harbor. So first problem is accountability of these companies. Second problem is that we don't have the basic legislation. We have just notified, we have just passed this Data Protection Act, but the rules are yet not notified. So without making the rules for the ground floor, you can't regulate the first floor. AI is the next stage of the technology, and we don't have the basic legislation for the basic things. And third thing is the age of the children in the digital world. Now, as per the US law, children below 13 years can't join the social media. But India, there is no such law, and 30% of the children below the 13 years of the age, they don't have any literacy, they don't have any awareness, they don't know about their protection. And they are in the social media, and if their things are misused. And lastly, in India, there is a big problem as per the Constitution, 7th schedule. Police and law and order comes within the jurisdiction of the state government, and the cyber and technology, all these matters comes within the jurisdiction of the central government. So any action has to be taken by the state government, but they don't have any authority. So like we have seen in the Mahadev app matter, central government says that Chhattisgarh government can recommend for the banning app, but they don't have any power. So there is lack of coordination between the state and central government, and there is no such regulator in India to address these grievances. And every time ordinary persons can't approach the minister or the ministry. So I think these are the basic issues, and we have the complete digital India, digital infrastructure, but we don't have the infrastructure for the grievance redressal, and the digital legislative infrastructure we don't have.
Okay, you're making important legal points, but I'm going back to Pankaj about the kind of support that he's talking about, something that's extremely important. Pankaj, 2 points. Elaborate a little bit more about what needs to be done, A, and B, where is technology heading? Now, we see an international conversation, Pankaj, left, right, and center, about AI being as much a threat as climate change, but where is the technology itself headed? Are we still at the cusp of the problem? I mean, is it far, far deeper than we think it is at the moment?
Yeah. So look, it's like a nuclear power, right? You can make a bomb or generate power. Now, to tackle this, you need to use AI against it. And there are companies, there are researchers who are working in this field. Something that sounds as simple as authentication tool, or a tool that can pick signals of a deepfake or any kind of distortion. Now, those are technologically very tough to solve problems, but I think it is a journey. So that is going on, and some of the world's best crusaders, from open source to large and companies and startups, are working in this area. But it is not going to be an off-the-shelf solution, first of all. I think in the meantime, I would take you back 2 years ago to South Korea when the nth room case happened. It was right up there at the epicenter of this problem which we are discussing today. I was listening to the cyber law expert about the legislation and all of that. They tweaked their regulations since then. So something as simple as not just distribution, but anyone who is possessing or storing a kind of content that we are discussing, it has to be punishable. So some of these little things need not lag this. I mean, this sense of urgency has to happen. Technology will take its time because this is not a small problem. Right. So we will have to use AI against it. There's no other way.
You have to use AI against AI, but do we understand AI enough to be using that? Nurain, I want to give the last word to you because a lot of these solutions are going to take time, but the damage that's happening is in real time. I'm sure as an educator, you spoke about talking to kids, making them aware of the situation, talking to parents. But in terms of safeguards and in terms of structures, what do you think we can put in place to protect our kids today? And not just our kids, protect all of us, including Rashmika Mandanna and celebrities like that, in today's world from protecting themselves from deepfakes?
Yeah, I think this is something each of us have to take responsibility for ourselves, our loved ones, and the people that we're responsible for. Because there is no one solution out there. It's a cat and mouse game as far as technology is concerned. For every 100 people working on creating these tools, there's only one person working on making sure it's not happening. So I think this is going to be a conversation that we have to have with our children at home, at school. I think the government could and should create curriculum. Boards of education should create curriculum. There are companies out there like Common Sense Media who are doing amazing work and actually creating more awareness and teaching children to be good digital citizens. I think schools need to relook their code of conduct, their cyber policies, not just in terms of what's happening at school. Because at school, yes, it is possible for us to put safeguards, but then what happens at home? A lot of this happens after school hours. So I think we need to create more awareness on the type of tools. And I will say this to parents repeatedly. Parents don't recognize that there's a problem or there's a potential challenge until something happens to their child. Either their child is the victim of it or is actually the perpetrator. And neither wins, to be honest, at the end of the day. So while government works on legislation, while technology companies work on coming up with solutions, and frankly, I don't think they're incentivized to do it enough. There's nothing forcing them to come up with self-regulation. They talk about it, but they don't do it. So we all have to work collaboratively to create a safe ecosystem for our children, not just to benefit from the use of technology, to be producers of technology, but also to be able to use it in a safe way. And that has to start at home.
It's an all-round phenomenon which should involve artificial intelligence technology as well as human beings and legal frameworks as well. Quickly, Viraj Gupta, last point to you, very quickly.
Pankaj was talking about the storage and distribution, but this happens only in the case of the pornography. Pornography storage and seeing itself is not a crime in India, but distribution is crime. And secondly, use of fake news and these artificial AI use will be done in the election. And for that purpose, October 2013, Election Commission has notified the rules, but they are not yet implemented. So basic problem in India is that we are in a playgroup or primary stage.
Yeah.
Right, that's an important point that you make there. Thank all three of you for sharing your thoughts on it. Obviously, this is an ongoing conversation, and this is a real one. And this wasn't a deepfake conversation. This is a real conversation about deepfakes, and we hope to solve the problem as a nation, as a global phenomenon across the board. But that's all we have time for on the Southern View. The news continues here on NDTV.